Have you ever had one of those moments that stops you in your tracks? A moment so unexpected, so raw, it leaves you speechless? That's exactly what happened to me one quiet afternoon in my room. I was sitting there, minding my own business, lost in thought, when suddenly my nephew burst through the door. What he did next completely blindsided me. It wasn't just surprising, it was life-changing. But why'd he do it? And what made this moment unforgettable? You're probably wondering how a simple visit from a family member could turn into something so profound. Well, stick around because today I'm going to take you on a journey filled with love, vulnerability, and lessons we can all learn from. This isn't just another story about family. It's about connection, acceptance, and the power of small gestures that leave a lasting impact. By the end of this video, you'll understand why this single moment meant so much to me and maybe even see your own relationships in a new light. Before we dive deeper, let me set the stage for you. My nephew is more than just a kid who happens to be related to me. He's someone who has taught me things I never expected to learn. Things about trust, courage, and seeing the world differently. And trust me, once you hear his side of the story, you won't look at kids the same way again. But here's the thing, this isn't just my story. It's a reminder of how the people around us shape our lives in ways we don't always notice until it's too late. So if you've ever felt misunderstood, overlooked, or unsure of where you fit in, this video is for you. Because sometimes the smallest acts of kindness come from the most unexpected places. Welcome to your channel name, where we share stories that inspire, challenge, and connect us. If this sounds like something you'd enjoy, hit that subscribe button so you never miss an update. Now, grab a cup of coffee or tea, if that's your thing, and settle in. Let's unpack this incredible moment together, starting with a little background on my nephew and me. Are you ready? Let me tell you a little about my nephew, because honestly, he's one of those people who lights up every room he walks into. His name is Leo, short for Leonardo, though no one ever calls him that unless they're trying to be funny. He's 9 years old, full of energy, and has this mischievous grin that can melt even the toughest hearts. If you've ever met someone who seems like they were born without a filter, that's Leo. He says exactly what's on his mind, whether it's your hair looks weird today or I love you more than pizza. And trust me, coming from a kid who worships pizza, that last part means something. Our bond is, well, it's complicated in the best possible way. We're close, but not in the traditional sense. You know how some families have those unspoken rules about what you talk about and what you don't? Yeah, we kind of broke all of them. From the time he was little, Leo would ask me questions that caught me off guard. Questions most adults wouldn't dare bring up at family dinners. Like, why do people care so much about who loves who? Or, does being gay mean you're happier than other people? At first, I didn't know how to answer him. But over time, our conversations became less about explanations and more about understanding each other, that we also share inside jokes. Lots of them. There's this running gag where he pretends to be my manager, calling me things like the main character and demanding I give him 10% of my fame earnings. It's ridiculous, but makes me laugh every single time. He's the kind of kid who remembers the smallest details, too. Once, after hearing me mention how much I missed a certain type of cookie my mom used to bake, he showed up at my door weeks later with a box of them. Turns out, he'd convinced his mom to make them for me. That's just who he is, thoughtful, clever, and always 2 steps ahead. Now, let me paint a picture of the day this story takes place. I live alone in a small apartment on the outskirts of town, which is both peaceful and isolating, depending on the day. That particular afternoon, I had been feeling heavy. Life as a gay person isn't always easy, especially when you're navigating spaces where acceptance feels conditional. Earlier that week, I dealt with a situation that left me questioning whether I belonged, not just in my community, but in my own skin. I won't go into specifics right now, but suffice it to say, I needed some time to process everything. So there I was sitting in my room, staring blankly at the wall, letting the weight of the world sit on my shoulders. And then, out of nowhere, Leo burst through the door. Looking back, I realized there were subtle hints that something was brewing. For starters, he'd been unusually quiet during our last few interactions, which was strange for someone who usually talks nonstop. Plus, earlier that morning, he texted me, Yes, he texts. He's very proud of his phone privileges, saying, "Uncle, your name, stay home today. Important mission." Of course, I brushed it off, thinking he was planning another one of his elaborate pranks. Little did I know, his mission was far bigger than anything I could have imagined. But before we get to that, I want to zoom out for a moment. Because while Leo is undeniably special, the real magic lies in how our relationship fits into the larger picture of family dynamics. Growing up gay in my household wasn't easy. There were moments of support, sure, but also plenty of tension and misunderstanding. Yet somehow, Leo managed to navigate those complexities with a grace I couldn't have dreamed of. How does a 9-year-old become such a beacon of hope and acceptance? And what does his presence say about the evolving role of family in LGBTQ plus lives? Stick with me, because in the next section, we'll dive deeper into my journey as a gay person within my family and how Leo helped reshape what connection truly means. Trust me, this is where things start to get really interesting. Let me take you back a little to the beginning of my journey as a gay person and how it shaped the relationships I have with my family today. Being gay isn't just an identity. It's a lens through which you see the world, especially when that world doesn't always understand or accept you. For me, coming out was both liberating and terrifying. On one hand, I finally felt like I was living authentically. On the other hand, I wasn't sure how my family would react. Would they still love me? Would they see me differently? Those questions haunted me for a long time. Thankfully, my family wasn't entirely unsupportive. But let's be honest, support comes in shades of gray. My parents, bless their hearts, tried. They attended a few Pride events, read articles online, and even watched documentaries about LGBTQ plus issues. But there were moments, small, subtle things, that reminded me they were still learning. Like the time my mom awkwardly asked if I'd ever consider dating women again because she thought it might make life easier. Or when my dad hesitated before introducing me to his friends, unsure of whether to mention my sexuality. It wasn't malicious. It was fear, ignorance, and maybe even a little shame on their part. And while I understood where they were coming from, those moments stung. But here's the thing about family. Love has a way of breaking down walls, even the ones built by societal norms. Over time, we found our rhythm. My siblings became fierce advocates for me, stepping in whenever someone made an insensitive comment. My nieces and nephews started asking questions, not out of judgment, but curiosity. And then there was Leo. Oh, Leo. From the moment he entered my life, he seemed to instinctively grasp something many adults struggle with, that being gay is just one part of who I am. Not the whole story, not a problem to solve. Just a fact like having brown eyes or loving chocolate ice cream. And I'll never forget this one instance that perfectly captures Leo's unique brand of wisdom. We were at a family barbecue, and one of my uncles, who shall remain nameless, made a careless joke about gay people. The room went silent, everyone pretending they hadn't heard it. Or worse, laughing nervously to diffuse the tension. I wanted to disappear, but before I could say anything, Leo spoke up. In his tiny voice, he said, "Uncle, your name likes boys, and that's okay. Why are you making fun of him?" You could have heard a pin drop. My uncle stumbled over some half-hearted apology, but the damage was done in the best possible way. Leo had stood up for me, plain and simple. And in doing so, he forced everyone else in the room to confront their biases, too. That wasn't the only time Leo showed me unconditional acceptance. There was another moment, quieter but equally powerful. He once asked me, "Does being gay mean you're braver than other people?" I was caught off guard, not just by the question itself, but by the sincerity behind it. When I asked why he thought that, he shrugged and said, "Because you're different, and being different takes courage." I didn't know what to say, so I just hugged him. That conversation stayed with me for days, weeks, maybe even years. It reminded me that sometimes kids see the world more clearly than adults do. They don't carry the same baggage, the same prejudices. To them, difference isn't something to fear, it's something to celebrate. These moments, Leo standing up for me, asking thoughtful questions, showing genuine care, are testaments to the power of familial love. Love doesn't erase challenges, but it creates space for growth. It allows us to stumble, apologize, and try again. It teaches us that connection isn't about perfection, it's about effort. And in my household, that effort often came from unexpected places, like a 9-year-old boy who refused to let society dictate how he treated the people he cared about. Which brings me to an important point. Children play a unique role in bridging generational gaps around LGBTQ plus topics. Think about it. They grow up in a world that's slowly becoming more inclusive, more open-minded. They hear stories, watch movies, and learn lessons that challenge outdated beliefs. Then they bring those lessons home, sharing them with parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles. They act as mirrors, reflecting progress back to older generations. And in doing so, they create ripples of change that extend far beyond their immediate families. In Leo's case, he didn't just influence me, he influenced everyone around him. His words and actions forced us to rethink what it means to be supportive, to truly embrace someone for who they are. He reminded us that love isn't passive, it's active. It requires listening, learning, and sometimes speaking uncomfortable truths. And honestly, I think that's why the surprise he gave me that day in my room felt so profound. Because it wasn't just a random act of kindness. It was the culmination of everything he'd been teaching us all along. So, as we move forward, keep this in mind. The bond between a child and their family member isn't just personal. It's transformative. It shapes how we view ourselves, each other, and the world. In the next section, we'll explore exactly how kids like Leo embody hope and possibility, and why their perspectives matter now more than ever. Stay tuned, because this is where the pieces really start to come together. There's something magical about the way kids see the world. They're unburdened by the layers of bias, fear, and conditioning that often cloud adult perspectives. To them, life is simpler, not because they don't understand complexity, but because they approach it with a purity of heart that we adults sometimes lose along the way. Leo is no exception. In fact, he might be the poster child for this kind of untainted wisdom. And let me tell you, spending time with him has taught me more about acceptance than any self-help book or TED Talk ever could. Take, for example, the time we were at a park and a group of kids started teasing another boy for wearing nail polish. I'll admit I froze. I didn't know whether to intervene or let it play out. But Leo, he didn't hesitate. He walked right up to the boy, gave him a high five, and said, "Your nails look cool. What made you pick that color?" Just like that, the tension dissolved. The other kids stopped teasing, and soon enough, they were all talking about their favorite colors. It was such a small gesture, but it spoke volumes. Leo didn't overthink it. He just acted from a place of kindness and curiosity. No judgment, no agenda, just pure connection. That's not the only time he's blown me away with his open-mindedness. Once, during a family dinner, someone casually mentioned that boys shouldn't cry. Leo immediately shot back with, "Why not? Crying doesn't make you weak. It means you feel things deeply." I nearly choked on my food. Where did this kid come from? He wasn't reciting some rehearsed line. He genuinely believed what he was saying. And the best part? He made everyone else rethink their stance, too. By the end of the night, even my dad was nodding along, admitting that maybe emotions aren't something to suppress after all. Moments like these remind me of how far society has come and how far we still need to go. Leo represents hope, not just for me, but for all of us. He embodies the progress we're capable of when we strip away prejudice and focus on humanity. His actions are a testament to the fact that change doesn't always come from grand gestures or sweeping policies. Sometimes, it starts with a 9-year-old boy who refuses to accept hate as normal. What strikes me most about Leo is how naturally he loves. There's no calculation, no conditions, just an unwavering belief in treating people with respect and care. That's why the surprise he gave me that day feels so significant. It wasn't just about the act itself. It was about what it represented. He reminded me of everything good about unconditional love. The kind of love that says, "I see you, I accept you, and nothing about you needs to change for me to value you." And honestly, isn't that what we're all searching for? A sense of belonging, of being seen and cherished for exactly who we are? Leo gives that to me without even realizing it. Every word he says, every action he takes, reinforces the idea that love transcends labels and expectations. Watching him navigate the world with such grace and courage makes me believe that maybe, just maybe, we're heading toward a future where differences aren't feared but celebrated. Now, I know you're probably wondering, what was the surprise? How did Leo manage to encapsulate all of this into one moment? Well, here's the thing. It wasn't flashy or dramatic. It was quiet, thoughtful, and deeply personal. And trust me, when you hear the details, you'll understand why it left such a lasting impression on me. This wasn't just a random act of kindness. It was a reflection of everything Leo stands for: a beacon of hope, a reminder of progress, and a symbol of unconditional love. So, buckle up because in the next section, I'm going to take you step by step through the events of that unforgettable day. You'll hear exactly what happened, how I reacted, and why this moment continues to resonate with me to this day. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. All right, let's dive into the heart of the story, the moment that changed everything. Picture this. It's a quiet afternoon in my apartment. The sunlight streams through the blinds, casting long shadows across the room. There's a faint hum of traffic outside, but inside, it's peaceful, almost too peaceful. I'm sitting on the edge of my bed, staring at nothing in particular, lost in thought. My mind is heavy with the weight of the week's events. You know those days when you feel like the world has piled all its expectations onto your shoulders? That was me. I wasn't expecting company, let alone anything out of the ordinary. Then, suddenly, the silence is shattered by the sound of hurried footsteps in the hallway. Before I can even process what's happening, my bedroom door swings open, and there he is, Leo, breathless and grinning from ear to ear. His cheeks are flushed like he's been running, and his hands are tucked behind his back, hiding something. For a split second, I think he's about to pull off one of his infamous pranks. Maybe he's got a rubber spider or some silly toy ready to scare me. But then I notice something different about him. His eyes are wide, not mischievous, but filled with purpose. This isn't a prank. Something important is about to happen. Uncle, your name, he says, his voice trembling slightly. I have something for you. And before I can respond, he steps forward and pulls out a handmade card. It's colorful, obviously crafted with care, covered in glitter and stickers. At first glance, it looks like any other kid-made creation, but as I take it from him, I realize it's so much more. On the front, written in shaky block letters, are the words, "You're amazing just the way you are." My throat tightens instantly. I look up at him, confused, overwhelmed, and maybe even a little scared of what's coming next. "What's this?" I manage to choke out, my voice barely above a whisper. Leo shifts nervously, rocking back and forth on his heels. Then, without missing a beat, he blurts out, "I made it for you because I want you to know you don't have to be sad anymore." That's when it hits me, the full force of what he's saying. He's noticed. He's seen the struggles I've tried so hard to hide, the moments of doubt and insecurity that I thought were invisible. And instead of brushing them aside or pretending they don't exist, he's chosen to acknowledge them. In his own way, yes, but with a clarity that takes my breath away, that I open the card slowly, almost afraid of what I'll find inside. The pages are filled with doodles and short notes. One corner features a stick figure drawing of us holding hands under a rainbow. Another section reads, "I love you no matter what," followed by a tiny heart. But it's the final message that breaks me completely. Being gay makes you special, not different. Don't ever forget that. Tears well up in my eyes before I can stop them. I try to blink them away, but they spill over anyway, streaming down my face. Leo watches me intently, his expression shifting from excitement to concern. "Are you okay?" he asks softly, stepping closer. All I can do is nod, clutching the card tightly in my hands. Words fail me. How could I possibly explain how much this means to me? Here's this 9-year-old boy, someone who hasn't lived through the pain and prejudice I've faced, yet somehow understands exactly what I need to hear. The room feels warmer now, despite the cool breeze drifting in through the window. The faint scent of crayons lingers in the air, mingling with the metallic tang of emotion rising in my chest. I reach out and pull Leo into a hug, holding him tighter than I ever have before. He hugs me back just as fiercely, murmuring, "It's going to be okay, Uncle, your name. You're my hero." In that moment, everything shifts. The heaviness I'd been carrying lifts, replaced by an overwhelming sense of gratitude and love. This isn't just a card. It's validation, acceptance, and unconditional support wrapped up in construction paper and glitter. Coming from anyone else, it might have felt nice, but fleeting. But from Leo, it's monumental. It's proof that the lessons we teach kids about kindness and empathy come back to us tenfold. It's evidence that love transcends fear and misunderstanding. Why does this act feel so meaningful? Because it speaks to every struggle I've had as a gay person navigating a world that often feels hostile. Growing up, I didn't have anyone telling me I was enough just as I am. I didn't have someone reminding me that being different wasn't a flaw, it was a strength. Now, here's Leo giving me the gift I didn't even realize I needed. He's bridging the gap between generations, showing me that progress isn't just possible, it's already happening. And that's why this moment will stay with me forever. It's not just about the card or the words. It's about what they represent. It's about knowing that somewhere along the way, I helped shape a child who sees the world through eyes unclouded by hate. It's about realizing that the seeds of acceptance we plant today grow into acts of love tomorrow. As powerful as this moment was for me, it also reshaped our relationship moving forward. From that day on, Leo became more than just my nephew. He became my ally, my cheerleader, and in many ways, my teacher. We started having deeper conversations, ones that went beyond surface-level curiosity. He began asking questions not just about my life, but about how he could make the world better for people like me. And in doing so, he inspired me to keep fighting, not just for myself, but for future generations who deserve a kinder, more inclusive world. Speaking of which, let's talk about the ripple effects of this moment for both of us and the broader lessons we can all learn from it. Because while this story is deeply personal, it's also universal. Stick around, because in the next section, we'll explore the emotional aftermath and reflect on why small gestures can carry such immense weight. Trust me, this is where things get really profound. In the hours and days following that moment, I found myself replaying it over and over in my mind. It wasn't just the act itself, the handmade card, the heartfelt words, but the sheer weight of what it represented. That evening, after Leo left, I sat alone in my room again, but this time, everything felt different. The heaviness I'd been carrying earlier had lifted, replaced by a warmth that radiated from deep within me. I cried, not out of sadness, but out of gratitude. Tears streamed down my face as I held the card close to my chest, tracing the glittery edges with my fingertips. It was as if Leo had handed me something I didn't even realize I was missing: permission to be unapologetically myself. The next morning, I woke up feeling lighter, like a fog had cleared. For the first time in weeks, maybe even months, I looked in the mirror and saw not just a gay man navigating a complicated world, but someone who mattered, someone worthy of love exactly as they are. That's the power of small gestures when they're rooted in genuine care. They don't need to be grand or elaborate to leave an impact. Sometimes, all it takes is a few carefully chosen words to remind us of our worth. As the days went on, I began noticing subtle shifts, not just in how I viewed myself, but in how I saw my relationships with others. This moment with Leo made me reflect on the role family plays in shaping who we are. Sure, families can be messy, imperfect, and frustrating at times, but they can also be sources of incredible strength and healing. Leo reminded me that love doesn't have to be loud or dramatic to be meaningful. It can show up quietly, in a child's drawing, in a whispered reassurance, in a simple act of kindness. And when it does, it has the power to transform lives. This experience also forced me to confront my own fears about vulnerability. Sharing such a personal story isn't easy. It requires peeling back layers of protection and exposing parts of yourself you've worked hard to shield. But here's the thing: vulnerability is where connection happens. By opening up about moments like this, I'm not just processing my own emotions. I'm creating space for others to do the same. If telling this story helps even one person feel less alone, then bearing my soul becomes infinitely worth it. But the ripple effects didn't stop with me. My relationship with Leo deepened in ways I never anticipated. We started talking more openly about topics most people shy away from, things like identity, acceptance, and the importance of standing up for what's right. He began asking questions that showed he was thinking critically about the world around him, like, why do some people hate gay people? And how can I help make things better? These conversations weren't always easy, but they were necessary. They reminded me that while progress might feel slow, it's happening one conversation, one action, one child at a time. Which brings me to something bigger, a lesson we can all take away from this experience. Because while this story is uniquely mine, its themes are universal. Love, acceptance, and the courage to embrace difference aren't confined to any one person or situation. They're threads woven into the fabric of humanity. Whether you're part of the LGBTQ plus community or simply someone trying to navigate life's complexities, there's something to be learned from Leo's gesture. It's a reminder that no matter who you are or where you come from, your actions, no matter how small, can create waves of change. Think about it. How many times have you doubted your ability to make a difference? How often have you dismissed your efforts as insignificant? Well, let me tell you, that couldn't be further from the truth. Every word you speak, every choice you make, every moment of kindness you offer leaves an imprint on someone else's life. You may never fully understand the depth of that impact, but trust me, it's our .so. As we transition into the final stretch of this video, I want to zoom out even further. Let's talk about the broader implications of moments like these, not just for individuals, but for society as a whole. What does it mean to live in a world where unconditional love and acceptance become the norm rather than the exception? How can each of us play a role in making that vision a reality? Stick around because these are the kinds of questions that inspire hope and action. As I sit here reflecting on everything that happened that day, I can't help but think about the bigger picture, the lessons this moment holds not just for me, but for all of us. At its core, this story is about connection, empathy, and resilience. It's a reminder that even in moments of doubt or struggle, there are glimmers of hope waiting to be discovered if we're open to seeing them. One of the most profound takeaways from this experience is how deeply interconnected we all are. Human beings are wired for connection. It's what gives our lives meaning. But connection isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes it shows up in quiet, unexpected ways, like a child's handmade card or a simple act of kindness. These small moments remind us that no matter how isolated we might feel, we're never truly alone. There's always someone willing to reach out, to listen, to care, even when we least expect it. This story also underscores the transformative power of empathy. Empathy isn't just about understanding someone else's pain. It's about taking action to ease it. Leo didn't just notice I was struggling. He did something about it. He used his voice, his creativity, and his love to remind me that I mattered. And isn't that what we're all striving for? To make others feel seen, valued, and loved? When we lead with empathy, we create ripples of positivity that extend far beyond ourselves. We inspire others to do the same, creating a chain reaction of compassion. Then there's resilience, the quiet strength it takes to keep going even when life feels overwhelming. As someone who's navigated challenges because of my identity, I know firsthand how exhausting it can be to fight for acceptance. But moments like these remind me why it's worth it. They remind me that progress isn't linear. It's messy, imperfect, and often slow, but it's happening. Every time someone stands up for what's right, every time someone chooses kindness over judgment, we move one step closer to a better world. And let's not forget humanity's incredible capacity for goodness. In a society that often feels divided, stories like mine serve as proof that love and acceptance still exist, and they thrive in places we might not expect. A 9-year-old boy teaching an entire family about unconditional support? That's humanity at its finest. It's evidence that no matter how dark things seem, There's always light to be found if we're willing to look for it. Now, I want you to pause for a moment and think about your own life. Has anyone ever surprised you with love or support when you needed it most? Maybe it was a friend who showed up unannounced during a tough time, or a stranger who offered a kind word when you were feeling invisible. Those moments stick with us because they remind us of our shared humanity. They show us that even in our darkest hours, there's still reason to believe in goodness. The truth is, life will always have its challenges. There will be days when the weight of the world feels unbearable, when it seems easier to give up than to keep fighting. But I promise you this, those moments of grace, those tiny acts of kindness, they add up. They become lifelines that pull us through. So, whenever you're feeling lost or discouraged, remember this. You don't have to face it alone. Reach out, lean on the people around you, and trust that brighter days are ahead. Which brings me to my final point, and perhaps the most important one. Moments like these aren't just meant to inspire us, they're meant to challenge us. They push us to ask ourselves, what role am I playing in making the world a kinder, more inclusive place? Am I actively listening to those around me? Am I using my voice to uplift others? The beauty of it is that you don't need to be extraordinary to make a difference. You just need to show up with an open heart, a willingness to learn, and a commitment to spreading kindness wherever you go. So, as we wrap up this video, I want to leave you with two things, a call to action and a final thought to carry with you. First, take a moment to reflect on your own relationships. Who in your life deserves gratitude? Who has shown you love or support when you needed it most? Let them know. Send a text, make a call, write a letter, whatever feels right. Because trust me, those words mean more than you'll ever realize. Second, hold on to hope. No matter how hard life gets, there are always reasons to believe in goodness. Whether it's a child reminding you that you're enough, a friend lending a shoulder to cry on, or a stranger offering a smile in passing, these moments matter. They remind us that despite our differences, we're all connected by a shared desire to love and be loved. In the next section, we'll tie everything together with some closing thoughts, including a heartfelt thank you to you, our viewers, and a gentle nudge to join us on this journey of storytelling and inspiration. Stay tuned. It's going to be meaningful that as we come to the end of this story, I want to take a moment to recap what makes it so special, not just for me, but hopefully for you too. This is a tale about love in its purest form. It's about a 9-year-old boy who saw the world differently and used his unique perspective to remind me of something I'd forgotten. That being different isn't something to hide, it's something to celebrate. It's about how small gestures can carry immense weight when they're rooted in genuine care. And most importantly, it's about connection, the unbreakable bond between family, friends, and even strangers who choose to see each other with kindness and compassion. It's hard. This story is also a reminder of hope. Life will always throw challenges our way, but moments like these prove that goodness exists everywhere if we're willing to look for it. Whether it's a handmade card from a nephew or an unexpected act of kindness from someone you barely know, these moments remind us that we're never truly alone. They teach us to keep moving forward, to embrace vulnerability, and to believe in the power of unconditional acceptance. Before we wrap up, I want to say thank you for taking the time to listen, for allowing me to share this deeply personal story, and for being part of this community. If anything in this video resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. Have you ever been surprised by someone's love or support? Do you have a Leo in your life who reminds you of humanity's capacity for kindness? Share your stories in the comments below. Let's create a space where we uplift and inspire one another because, trust me, those shared experiences matter more than words can express. Now, here's my ask. If this video touched your heart or gave you a new perspective, please consider liking it. Your support means the world to me and helps spread this message to others who might need it. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Our channel is all about sharing stories that connect, challenge, and inspire, and I'd be honored to have you join us on this journey. While you're at it, check out some of our other videos. We've got plenty more tales of resilience, love, and hope waiting for you. Finally, as we part ways, I want to leave you with this thought. Every single one of us has the power to make someone's day brighter, to remind them they're loved, and to show them they belong. You don't need grand gestures or perfect timing, just a willingness to care. So go out there and be the light you wish to see in the world. Because somewhere, someone needs exactly what only you can give. Thank you again for being here. Until next time, take care. And remember, no matter how tough life gets, there's always a reason to believe in goodness.